This is the
legs. Quarterback's legs.
Fakes left, now taken off. Gonna run for it, he got it! And there he goes! Inside the 10, the 5. Oh, the play of the year in the NFL! Quarterback legs it was.
I said no spy on this play. I can't believe it. The rare mistake by Kansas City. There's times.
Hey, what's up, guys? Anthony Testino with the Griffey Man here, contributor for Eric Smith over on YouTube. Gonna get into the Dolphins and Bengals tape. That's how great of a performance it was, as I almost forgot who the hell they were playing. Yeah, ugly performance overall. Obviously, you get smacked like that at home. It's not fun for anybody. To think that game was something when the schedule released as being excited for, right? Like, ooh, we get a Burrow versus Tua matchup on primetime. Well, then it gets flexed out of primetime. Then we lose Tua. Then both teams are, below 500. And this becomes a normal 1 o'clock game, and it ends up being a blowout with Quinn Ewers starting, right? So kind of went the other way on that one. It wasn't fun. I actually thought the defense quit finally. Toward the end of that game, I think when things started to unravel a little bit, it just, they just decided to pack it in, and I'm not sure what to think of that, just because it seems like, they've been a pretty resilient bunch, to this point in the season where, I thought they had plenty of opportunities to quit prior, and they didn't. And I gave them a lot of credit for that. I also gave credit to Mike for that. But again, I'm not sure what that means going forward. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what the next 2 weeks look like. To get the full story, because we do still have 2 of these things left, and very curious to see how they go. It's where we are, guys, right? So I am trying something new out with the audio with these guys here instead, so I'm hoping that ends up being a good thing. If not, my apologies in advance, but hopefully it does clean some things up, and it is better. We'll have to see. But we're going to get into the tape here. Don't have much to say about anything else, right? It's the end of the season. I will say this, though, just because it was, the big talking point for all week. I thought Quinn was okay. Yeah, I thought he was fine. I didn't really have any issues with him, especially early on, right? He looked like he was accurate, and he was hitting chunk plays. He looked like he was working within the offense. Now, I haven't looked at any of the all-22 to see, if decisions were the right ones, or if things were all first read or any of that kind of stuff. But I am going to do that just for my own, whatever personal curiosity, and interest. But he was not the issue. I mean, you throw a couple picks, whatever, tipped balls, that kind of thing, trying to, fit one into a tight window. That's to be expected. That's football. And I mean, realistically, I was actually at the point in that game where I'm like, can we stop running it on first down? I don't care about winning and losing. I don't care if you drop back and throw it 55 times this game with this kid. I want to see him get as many reps as possible. So I really don't care. This is kind of his tryout. This is his moment to kind of figure some things out and see what he can get away with, and try to possibly impress, and whatever else. Nothing else matters. We're in evaluation period, guys. So don't get too high, don't get too low. Regardless, let's just see if he looks like he belongs, and I thought he did. So we'll have to see how all of that goes and unravels as we go forward. But let's get into the tape, and you guys be the judge for yourself on the defense. And you guys know the drill. I think I'll say it at the end too. Comments, questions, concerns. But hit me up, and make sure you guys join us on Wednesday mornings when Eric and I go live. All right. So let's get into it. Thanks for checking it out, guys. Okay, guys. So the first play that we are going to look at here is actually the first play of the game offensively for the Bengals. Now, we all obviously saw what happened on Sunday, so I already know the second half is going to be full of like just bad tape, and I'm sure I would see probably a lack of effort from some. And I'm not sure how much, I'm going to get out of that, because when you play with bad effort, you simply play with bad effort at that point. I don't care about critique, and their technique and their, missteps and that kind of thing, because if you're not going to play with effort, that's step one, right? If we can't get past that, then it's not even worth looking at the rest. But, of course, I'm going to go through it, but, again, I don't know what I'm going to see that's useful, what's not useful, that sort of thing. So I am going to try to spend a little bit more time, I think, and focus on the first half, and, while the game was still a game and guys were seemingly playing. So yeah, we'll just kind of see how this thing goes, but I'm going to keep like that thought in mind going forward here. But with all that said, I am going to take the opportunity here, even on the first play of the game, on something that could be considered, I guess, routine. I am going to take the opportunity to shine some light on a positive play here, because, again, I don't know how many we're going to get, and I don't even know how much useful tape we're going to get out of this, because, again, to me, they seem like they just gave up and didn't give a shit. So, okay, first play of the game, like I said, this ends up being a 2-yard run on some jet sweep motion here, jet motion. Chase Brown and Rasul makes a tackle on the edge, and one-on-one. Okay, well, Rasul Douglas, man, continues to do this every week. He's a top 10, like top 7 graded PFF corner. It just can't be understated how awesome of a year he's had and how great of a signing that was. I don't know what took so long, considering they waited until the end of August, but he's been a 10 out of 10. Like, he's been fantastic. And it's honestly sad that the Dolphins are not in a position this year for Rasul to get, the recognition and shine that he deserves this year. But also the fact that, like, you're probably not going to bring him back, because what's the point? Like, you're moving toward a complete teardown rebuild. You're like, you don't really have a ton of salary cap, and granted, he's like going to be 32 years old, or I believe it's 32. I mean, you're in like a youth movement. I'm not sure that that's a match, going forward, where the Dolphins did have some ambition to try to win and be competitive this year. I think next year is kind of like, maybe being competitive would even be a stretch, because, just there's so much turnover that is expected, and the cap situation does not give them a lot of wiggle room, and blah, 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 right? So, again, I'm not sure that Rasul is back in Miami, although, again, I wish the Dolphins were in a better position, because I would absolutely bring that guy to war with me, as long as I could if I'm Miami. But, again, so we'll enjoy him for the last couple of games here. And I'm glad I got to see corner play, like that, because he's been a treat to watch all year long. And, wherever he ends up next year, I will be rooting for him, because, yeah, the dude stepped in the door and immediately brought it. He don't care, what the score is, what the situation was. Like, he was a professional at every level of this thing. So, but again, like, for him to continue to do this all year long, man, just be one-on-one, like, teams will not put themselves in position to have their corners, trying to tackle one-on-one like that. And there's very few that can do it. There's very, very few that do it well. Rasul has been awesome. Like, he has it figured out. Being at his height, I'm always surprised to see him, like, get underneath and get low on these small little shifty running backs that, could easily make you miss, like, in the blink of an eye. And Rasul continues to be extremely consistent in that area. So, again, he's been a bright spot. He's been fun to watch, and his tackling has been on display all season long. As far as this goes, too, this is a play now where the Cincinnati offensive line is going to leave Chop untouched here, right? Like the tackle here is coming down, so Chop is untouched. I'm not sure. I would imagine that the pulling guard here, their left guard is pulling. I would imagine that, considering he'd be the first one he would see, I think he would probably hit and attach. But like the way Chase's line is and how he's receiving the ball here, like I don't see this being a play where the guard is like kicking him out for Chase to cut up through. So I don't know. This play had me, like, from an offensive design, it had me scratching my head a little bit, because I just don't see these guards getting into a position to be like useful to Chase in a way, if that makes sense. Like, unless unless they're trying to pull them out to space, or he's going to, unless he's going to come up underneath this and try to get to the second, third level, get downfield. I'm not sure. I would have liked to have, like, seen this play almost work out to see the blocking, because to me, like I said, I'm very curious. I just think that Chase Brown has too much speed and the momentum already built up where he's just going to get ahead of his blockers and it's going to be all for naught. So, but anyway, I would like to see Chop. He is in a little bit of a position where he's got to be like head on a swivel, recognize what's coming, who's the blocker that's coming to get me, that kind of thing. And he ends up, he still ends up untouched, but he does kind of recognize late that this is a jet sweep and, he's not part of the play. I would like to think that with more reps and time, like, this is one of those things that I'd like Chop to start being more confident in his eyes, recognizing what's coming and being, there involved. Maybe he can set the edge. I mean, maybe he can even make a tackle for -6, It's a very difficult play. Not one that you see a whole lot from edge defenders, because if he does run upfield too far, and this is why he takes like the approach that he does. Like, if he runs up the field too far out here, then he's leaving himself susceptible to like a guard like this or like this coming in, kicking him out, and then there being a wide lane in here. Again, I'm not sure if it would have worked out like with the offense the way this is like designed and whatnot. Like, I kind of already stated my questions about that part. But again, that's like, he's not recognizing all of that. Like, that's something that you kind of get from the tape view, right? So he has to play this a certain way. But it is something that, again, like, I want to see Chop continue to get better at, and and that was something that we knew about, coming in, was the run defense, right? Like, yeah, he can be disruptive and stuff, but when it comes to like the reading and recognizing and that kind of part, like that kind of thing, he needs reps. It's as simple as that. He just needs reps. Right now he's a turn him loose kind of pass rusher where, he can wreak some havoc, make some plays for you in that department. But we want to see him be a full-time player. You take him at the end of the first round, you have high expectations. So I do hope that, the Dolphins know that they need to give him reps and he continues to be on the field as much as possible. And we do see those improvements. And the last thing I'll say here again, and not to beat a dead horse, but this whole guard pulling situation, to me, again, kind of seemed like it was all for naught. But if it wasn't, I do think that this is pretty cool, because let's say that I'm wrong and this ends up, the guard ends up being involved and he's got an important role to play here. Again, I kind of don't think he does by default. I just think Chase is going to outrun him. But watch Jordan Phillips here beat the center and blow up the guard and blow up the second guard there. I mean, if they had any ambition in getting outside and hitting anybody, Jordan Phillips just delayed both of them and said, yeah, sorry, boys, you're not getting your job done here. 1, 2. That's awesome stuff. And, and the reason why I say that is, 1, it's just awesome to blow up the play, right? But 2, like, we haven't really looked at Jordan Phillips as being the penetrator, like type. He's been very, very stout, very strong. Like, he has been like a rock at the point of attack, at the line of scrimmage, and he's been very consistent in that area. But we haven't really seen, like, the tackles for losses or the penetrating, getting into the backfield and making a tackle for -3, like, or even really pass rush, So to see him kind of do that there was cool. And yeah, I would like to see more of that if he's got it in the bag. So yeah, lots to touch on one play. Pretty cool to start out that way. We'll continue to move on. This is literally the next play of the game. And again, I'm going to grab positives and plays while I can because I do think the first half is going to be more important to watch in the second half. So I'll move through this quickly. Again, pretty generic, basic, right? Joe Burrow right here. He is reading Jordan Brooks here. They have a curl flat concept here. So this is, okay, if Jordan Brooks runs out to the flat, I'm going to stick it to Jamar. If Jordan Brooks sits, then I'm probably going to swing it to Chase and let Chase again go one-on-one in space with some space, with the corner. And then Chase will hopefully turn into a adequate blocker. But he does get the motion here of Jordan Brooks. He sees that he's going to track the flat. So as soon as he vacates and leaves the window open, he's going to let this go. Now Joe might be a little late here getting the football to Jamar. But again, I don't, Rasul doesn't care whether you're late, early, or whatnot. He just cares about getting the job done and making the play. And again, that's what he does there. So, it's, again, I'll say it. It stinks showing this many good clips to a guy that is not going to be here next year. Because again, I would love to have that guy back if the Dolphins were in a more competitive position. But sadly, this is the world we live in. And, we'll just have to be thankful and happy that we got to see, 1 year of pretty damn good, cornerback play from Rasul Douglas. But we'll continue. Here we go. We'll show the couple of big boys up front. As you can see down here, this ends up just being a 3-yard run. And you can't really see too much, what's going on from that angle, which is why the All-22 is pretty cool, man, because you get a much better story and the details when you watch it from this angle. So you see Zeke take on 2. You see KG over here taking on 2 as well. And again, night and day from where things were in the beginning. But this is what you love to see, man. Like, Miami really did hit a home run in this draft with their defensive linemen. I'm so excited for the future to see, like, what these guys become. I really hope that they all continue to grow and, like, hit their, their ceilings or get as close to their ceilings as possible. Just because, you want to talk about owning the line of scrimmage. There is some big-time potential here for Miami to be, very stout and one of the stronger teams, with their fronts defensively. I wish I could say the same thing about the offense. And maybe in due time. They got some pieces, obviously, on that side. But, yeah, watching this here, boom, boom. These guys, 4 guys trying to block 2 right here, and we're continuing to put ourselves in position to make the play. This guy comes off trying to come, second level and get Brooks, and that allows Zeke to break free and finish the job. So again, good work here by the young big guy. And if the play was the opposite, I have faith that Kenneth Grant would have done the same. So yeah, again, a lot to like, a lot to be excited about with these big young guys, man. They've come a long way, and I am very, very excited to see where things go. Again, this is a position of upgrade for me, and hopefully, the next regime, the next influx of Dolphins players and management and decision makers see it the same way, because again, I'm not sure what Terrell Dodson is. I get it, right? You watch this and it's like, that's where Burrow's eyes are taking you, right? But that this is a damn good quarterback. That he's going to give you things with his eyes that are not necessarily really there. And you as a player have to be disciplined and know that he's probably coming back to something, considering you also know the coverage. you are the communicator in the green dot, so you get to play before anybody, right? Like, you know that, you know, what the responsibilities are. So, I mean, you know, these guys are in good position down here and have it locked up. Like, you have the vertical here, which he is not going to help or participate in at all. You have this route here by Gesicki, right? And we're fine here. Like, there's no need for you to drift into that area, and there's nothing here. So I'm not quite sure, again, why we're drifting, other than that you are buying, you know, what Joe Burrow's eyes are selling you. And what that does is open up this backside little dig here in this hole where Jamar runs into, throttles it down, and sits. And I mean, it's pitch and catch for these two. But, you know, if you were to just stay home, you know, that becomes a little more of a tight window throw. I'm not sure Joe pulls the trigger. He's probably looking maybe to escape forward and run or swing it out here. But, you know, again, it's discipline, man. Discipline. It's a lot of the same issues. And like I said, when you're not necessarily the best in run defense and Jordan Brooks is carrying a lot of that weight, like, then okay, I need you to be, you know, balance, you know, out like how you contribute and be better, be above average, you know, be good to great in pass coverage. And I feel like I haven't seen enough of that all year long. You know, and that's what you get. So again, for me, this will be a position of, you know, of attention. I need somebody with better instincts. I need somebody that, you know, again, has better discipline. I just need better overall play. I can't have Jordan Brooks on one side doing everything, and then, you know, have somebody on the opposite side that seemingly just kind of brings the overall level of play of the group down. So yeah, just highlighting something there real quick, and nothing new. So we'll continue on. All right, just another solid effort here. Quick highlight that we can see. You know, going through the all 22 is a lot of fun. You know, because again, I mean, the biggest advantage you have is that, you know, you get to watch things as many times as you want, and, you know, reality is the TV copy only gives you one angle unless they decide to give you, you know, an extra little bonus replay. You know, so sometimes you see credit and, you know, maybe it's, you know, it's not really telling the whole story. You know, so here, like, just again, highlighting the you know, the youth and the big guys up front here. This is going to be, you know, you can see at the bottom, it's a 1 yard gain. And again, pretty routine, right? But we know the whole story of the Dolphins run game. We know, you know, the journey that these defensive linemen have basically been on from day one until where they are now. And again, just showing more of the same, but it is really good stuff, man. Like, you watch this here, and just from this angle, I'm going to show a part of it. Like, you get the double team here on Jordan Phillips. You get the double team here on Kenneth Grant. And Kenneth Grant does start to lose some ground here and get pushed back, right? And then here, right, we're here. It's probably, you know, he's really trying to hold his ground and stay. And then once you kind of lose that there, right, like, he's not technically, like, he's not all that square to the line of scrimmage, right? Like, when I say square, obviously, like, you want to keep your shoulder pads parallel with the line of scrimmage, because if you get turned sideways, right, like, now you're losing, you know, you're losing stability. You're losing a lot. You're losing everything. You're losing balance. You're losing your leverage. You're just overall, you are losing, right? So, you know, you look at this position that he's in here, and it's not really advantageous for him. But then all of a sudden, you look, you know, you skip ahead a couple frames here as Brown approaches the line, and this is Kenneth Grant sliding back into the picture, and look where he's at now, and he makes the play. I mean, and he stops him pretty violently, right? Boom, and knocks him backwards, right? Stops him pretty much dead in his spot, and this ends up being a 1 yard gain. So we'll look at it from the other angle. And you can see the work that these guys do. This is one of those plays, sometimes like it all depends on which way they're going. This is one of those plays that I wish I had the opposite side. Like I wish I was watching it from behind the Dolphins defense. But we roll with what we get, right? So again, you get a double team here, double team here. Jordan's doing his thing, right? And all of a sudden, now this guy's kind of releasing, maybe trying to work up to the second level, or help out somewhere else. But Jordan, right, gets kind of starting to get free. He's flashing. So now Chase wants to run away from him. And you have JB trying to come over and help in this hole. But KG, man, like I said, fighting back from the position that he was in. Right, he's backwards. He's getting moved a little bit backwards. He's still fighting. He's literally on 1 foot right now, it looks like. Fights back, dismisses him, disengages. Boom, puts a nice little pop on Chase Brown there. You could see Chase kind of jolt backwards a little bit. So, yeah, another one where it's just like, it looks like it's a routine play, right? I mean, it's a 1 yard gain. Half the time, being down 31-17 or 14 at this point, right? We were all kind of at the point, right, where it was like looking up at the screen, you watch a play, and then your eyes go back down to your fantasy team or whatnot because, it's sometimes it can be tough to watch and stay totally engaged when the team, performs this poorly. But, again, that's why the tape is fun because you get to see, all of that and break it down. So, again, more good stuff from the young guys up front, man. So I feel the need to highlight this because he made a hell of an attempt, but it was still a hell of a play last week in coverage down the seam. Jordan Brooks almost had a full extension interception off of Rodgers, and to be honest, I can't remember the play, like how it looked at the end, but I'm wondering, was it one of those situations where, if he doesn't slam the ground, like, does he haul that in? Or did the ball come loose before, he got to the ground? I don't remember. But either way, again, it's a hell of a play. I mean, it was awesome to see. But he does it, here as well, where, again, like this is a guy that's leading the league in tackles and wreaking havoc all over the field from a tackling standpoint and, blowing plays up, tackles for loss, sacks, right, the whole 9 yards. And all of a sudden the last 2 weeks, like we're getting some of this stuff here, which is really the stuff that like I've been personally dying to see. Like, not that, the tackles and that kind of stuff is unimpressive, because it is. But what I've been waiting for and what I've been, wanting from the linebacker room are things like this. It are guys dropping into coverage and getting in the passing lanes and making plays on the ball. Like, again, I don't remember the last time the Dolphins got a pick from a linebacker that was in like a similar looking situation like that, right? Like, seen Fred Warner do it, going back to Luke Kuechly. I mean, some of those plays were just excellent, man. And granted, yes, those are top of the league, your upper echelon linebackers, your do-it-all guys. I mean, like, face of your franchise, face of your defense kind of guys. I get that aspect of it. But again, like, Miami just hasn't had anybody that's even in the same like sentence as those guys, the same breath, and Jordan Brooks he's putting up a damn good fight, man. Like, he's having an all-pro year, so to see stuff like this, it's really exciting for me going forward. But again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, I just wonder, like, can Miami actually get competitive in this guy's window? Because I really think he's a guy that needs to be on this team. He needs to be one of the guys that's leading the charge in changing the culture, becoming winners, showing guys the right way how to, the right way to do things, how to do things, and, getting things back, on the right track. And I just wonder, at his age, does he even want to go through that, right? Like, he sure as hell deserves better, and again, he won't get the recognition that he deserves, but again, this is back-to-back weeks with excellent plays and coverage. And, I would go almost as far to say is like those might be the only 2 plays in coverage that I really like they're high level linebacker plays in in coverage for linebackers. We've seen a couple other plays where like guys will come up and knock the ball free, or they'll put a hit on somebody, and that's all well and good. But like this is a different level of like showing your range and coverage abilities as a linebacker. And for me, like I appreciate the hell out of it, and I want more of it so bad. So again, just highlighting that, and I really hope Jordan Brooks, is here when the Dolphins get this whole thing figured out and get back on track, and he's still capable of making plays like that. I also really hope that they see what good linebacker play is. It's not just like, filling, like, it's not just cleaning up tackles, right? Like, again, I felt like we got so used to average around here in Miami that it was just like we were content with what Jerome Baker gave us. And because he had a year where, he was a good blitzer, and Flores, figured out how to use him, all of a sudden it was, well, we'll make you one of like the highest paid linebackers in football. And reality is it was head scratching. Like he did not deserve that. Like he was average at best, and that is what it is. But Jordan Brooks is showing everybody what it's supposed to look like when you play really damn good football at the linebacker position, and you do it in all facets of the game, whether it be in pass coverage, in zone, man, the run, right, blitzing. I mean, all of it. He's been phenomenal. Okay, and again, very early on in the game, like they were playing early, man, and Zach, I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before, but yeah, he had gotten a sack when he was running a twist, with Zeke Biggers, and this week he's running a game over here with Chubb. And again, it works out not necessarily for the looper, but it works out for Zach, who's being, who's technically he's the one that's trying to clear this out for Chubb. When in the other situation, he was the guy trying to clear out for Zeke as well. And he just kind of ends up getting in position where he gets leverage and inside, of the guy that ends up trying to block him, and it leads to a sack. So, I tweeted out right away too, like this is now up to 5.5 sacks for Sealer on the season, which after having, back-to-back, 10 plus sack campaigns, and how this whole thing started, and the fact that he really didn't have a whole lot of help early on, and he was trying to be the teacher like on the field, and it was distracting him from doing his own job. Like, again, there's still some ugly reps on tape. There's still some things that I'm like, that just doesn't look like, typical Zach. But, when you get things like this, it does kind of like settle me down. And it's nice to see, like, he's no doubt had a better second half and kind of settled in. And obviously he's got a little bit more help around him now, right? So hopefully, next year, again, not to be super repetitive, but the Dolphins probably aren't going to be in a position where wins are going to technically matter, unless you're looking at them from the opposite end of saying we don't want very many because we want the high draft pick, right? But if they were somehow, a competitive football team, I do have some confidence that Zach can bounce back and get back to doing, the things that he normally does, more so than I do think like he's kind of falling off, right? Which like we alluded to a little bit early on. Not that he was, but we brought up the idea of like, please don't tell me, this guy just hit the cliff at the worst time when we just signed him, right? Like, and it was because it was a little worrisome at one point where you were watching some of the things that were happening and some of the reps he was putting on tape, and some of it was pretty damn ugly, and I hadn't really seen so much of that from Zach. Like, being in the interior, sometimes, yeah, you're going to get surprised. You're going to lose your footing, your hand play, whatever it is, like you're going to lose. It does happen, but at the rate that it was and how bad some of them were, yeah, there was definitely a reason to kind of have your antennas up. But again, I think Zach has kind of steadied the ship here, and like I said, here you get him in the bottom, boom, he clears out, but he knocks that guy, off his platform, well enough that he gets him off balance and, has the inside track. And obviously, Joe is looking down this way and he's got nowhere to go. The Dolphins were locked up here in man-to-man coverage. You're locked up here, you're locked up here, you're doubled here, and you're locked up here on the crosser when he tries to come backside. And that's the last look he gets to before Zach cleans him up. So, good team defense. Love seeing the games pay off. That's a couple in a row now. So, again, I mean, another topic, right? Is Anthony Weaver even going to be back as the Dolphins DC next year? So, if he is, those games will never go away. If he's gone, then we have to see, what we have and who, who's going to be running the show and what they like to do. Maybe, these DCs comes in all shapes and sizes as far as how they like to run, their defense and personnel and how they like to generate their pressure, what they believe in. So, nothing as far as now. There's just really just not a whole lot set in stone, other than a couple handful of guys that we know for sure are going to be back on the Dolphins roster. So, overall though, like I said, nice to see Zach kind of bounce back and put together a better second half of the year, than the way he got off the start that he got off to this year. Okay, here we'll take a look at the Chop Robinson and Kenneth Grant split sack, which, listen, sacks come in all shapes and sizes, as we've seen. There's some really good ones, and they look like they're earned with just beating guys one-on-one. There's some others that you kind of just end up in position for, and some quarterback pretty much runs into you, and you take the credit for it. Anything and everything is possible, right? But on this one gets created by a nice blitz here from Dodson. So that's Weaver drawing that up. That's Dodson and the rest of the guys executing it. It's good stuff to get Burrow off his spot. And then it looks like, Joe kind of saw as he was stepping up this lane here, which he did. If we back it up just a little bit, right, we'll take a look at this and see kind of through Burrow's eyes. Right there, like Joe sees daylight, says, ooh, that's an escape route. I'm going through there. Not sure how much he's going to pick up. He's probably going to end up sliding, or if he's really feeling ambitious, he can try to go one-on-one with Jordan Brooks, but I don't know how well that's going to end. So overall, I'm not really sure if it would, what he's picking up. It's probably going to be minimal gain is my guess. But Chop not getting too far upfield and allowing the tackle to seal him off, and Kenneth Grant continuing to work and close this gap at the right time, puts these guys in position to get a sack. Joe's got no choice but to just tuck it and say that was a bad decision. And give the young guys credit for continuing to work, putting themselves in position to make the play, and overall making the play. Right, so we'll take a look at it from this angle too, just so we can get another clean look. Right, we'll get a little bit more of a look from maybe what Joe was seeing. Right, I say when you see this, right, like you're seeing the colors here. You got green outside of white, white inside of green over here. Like, yeah, that's screaming, hey Joe, we're good, take off, run. Like you're gonna escape this. Like you're free to at least pick up a couple, get yourself out of trouble, and we'll get out of this this play that was disrupted by the blitz. But instead, like I said, you get these guys crashing down and doing a damn good job playing complementary football across the D line, the blitz, and all that, right? So good stuff. Give the guys credit, and two guys that take a lot of crap from the fans, but hopefully are very important pieces to this puzzle going forward. So another positive in a game where, again, I imagine there aren't very many the further we get into it. So okay, so here we're taking a look at one of our young guys, Dante Trader, and this is just stuff that's going to come with time, right? This is very simple. Not going to spend too much time here. It's really just recognizing things and, being able to play fast, watching tape, seeing those kinds of things, and being more prepared. This is to the Bengals' credit. This is really simple. A lot of teams do this. They run variations of this. They'll run it with receivers. They'll run it with tight ends. They'll run it in like third and shorts, and they'll run in the goal line situation. You get a lot of open tight ends like that. You get a lot of first down conversions like that. But the key guy here is no doubt it is Dante Trader here. And again, like, I'll tip my cap to Chase, even just again on a simple play. He does this very well. Like, he runs this and he keeps his line really tucked in toward the offensive line, where if he was back like here, had to bow it out or whatnot, like, he might be a little more visible. And instead, like, he's just kind of hidden behind the wall. Does a good job of avoiding the contact there from Phillips, kind of pushing the guard back into the backfield a little bit. Could have disrupted it, but Chase did not let it. And again, now, like, he's got a full head of steam headed to the flat, and Burrow's rolling with him, and Schrader's a little late to recognize, so he had to stick his right foot in the ground instead of, watching, and get basically take his attention away from where it was, which was on the run, right? He's looking here. He's watching the run action. Now we recognize, now he's got to transfer that weight from the right foot and try to get back outside there. Again, very simple stuff, but Jamar did it very well. And, just for Trader, who's been a guy that, has flashed. I think the Atlanta game, if I'm not mistaken, was his like coming out party. He had a great game there. Has definitely flashed, but then he's also had plenty of plays where you want more and say, well, there's a fifth round rookie, on display. So, but I assume he's going to be a decent snap taker next year. I mean, I guess anything and everything is possible to change, if we get a GM, a complete GM change. It's not like Champ Kelly selected these guys, so I'm not even sure if there's any, if there's any connection there that can be made. So, it'll be curious, and interesting to see kind of which direction some of these young guys go, as far as like, are they future parts? Are they just, they're here until basically they get rid of them, sort of deal, like almost like on borrowed time. Yeah, because Champ is going to have his own opinions and evaluations on some of these guys, and if he's the guy, or again, speaking about another GM that's gonna come in and do the same exact thing, but they're gonna have their own evaluations of these guys and their own kind of opinions about guys fit the mold, or we need an upgrade, or this is a guy I see as being a development, or I don't see him as any more than special teams contributor. We have to see. But yeah, like I said, again, just kind of one of those things where you see one of the young guys kind of put in the spotlight here against one of the best in the league. And, I think this is the kind of thing that'll come with time, that'll come with eye discipline, that'll come with more, tape watching, that kind of thing. So we'll have to see what, the future holds for Dante Trader. But like overall, I definitely like him. Ups and downs all season long, but I do think he's a worthy investment piece. I don't know if he's a guy you walk in next year and say he's automatically going to be, my third safety. But no doubt about it that I think he's a guy that can contribute on specials. I think he's, and I think he's capable of being at least a solid backup, if that's his career trajectory. But, I am holding out some hope that some of the things that we've seen flash, are going to become more consistent. We get a more consistent player, and then maybe we get like a Brandon Jones type of player who's carved out a nice career and a nice role for himself and a nice contract over in Denver. They took notice, so we'll see. But again, watching it from this angle, again, these are just, again, a pretty routine play, but focal point on one of the young guys, so we got to take notice. All right, everybody. So we're going to wrap it up after this one, because to me, this was kind of things had already gotten ugly to this point. Like, they're down, like this, I think, put them down 38-14. But from an effort level standpoint, like, you know, and there was tidbits of it beforehand, but this was really kind of like the last straw in this game where I just said, okay, well, they're done. And not in the sense like they can't come back anymore. I just mean like they're literally done. Like they're over today. They don't want to be there. It's going to be one of those days where everybody goes in the locker room. They grab their shit as fast as possible. Nobody wants to talk to the media, and everybody just wants to leave and then go and just relax and vent, you know, and that kind of thing. So, but we'll show this play real quick. You know, they're saying basically, do you want to put another guy over there, you know, or do you want to let us go one-on-one with Chase? Miami does a smart thing. They kind of do balance the defense out a little bit here, and they do give Rasul some inside help with Iffy. But then you get the motion over here, and this becomes 4 eligibles on this side. And with Jordan Brooks coming over, you know, they do have the numbers here to at least, you know, cover this properly. I mean, whether they score or not, you know, or get the stop is, you know, all about execution. But the bottom line is that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Brooks coming over is 5. So it's not like they're short, you know, it's not like they're short-staffed on this side. And Jordan Brooks is going to come over here and basically be screaming for these guys to bump out, right? Like what he wants is, instead of Jack Jones being on Higgins, Dotson being here on the tight end, and then Trader being over the top with Jason Marshall here on Gesicki, what he wants them to do is bump out here and go Jack Jones on Chase Brown when he gets outside. Dotson would slide over on Higgins. He would definitely need the help at the safety there, and that would be on Trader to recognize that. And then Marshall would be here. I think that's Drew Sample, if I'm not mistaken. To that or Tanner Hudson, I don't know. They got like 4 tight ends, and they're like all the same. And then Jordan Brooks would end up taking the innermost guy, which would be Gesicki. And that's because it's a difficult ask for him to get all the way outside and run through all this traffic, because he doesn't know when Burrow's going to snap it. If Burrow snaps it, you know, like here, when Chase is here and Brooks is like here, he's got to sift through all this traffic, which, I mean, is what happens. I mean, he does hesitate because he's assuming and hoping that the guys will, you know, adjust and do their job, but they don't. But again, even if Brooks carried on and ran through that, he's not getting through this to put himself in a position to make a play on that. It's not happening, which is why he asked, you know, for the bump. But again, nobody acknowledged him. Nobody paid attention. And to me, it looked like guys just really didn't care, because I don't know how you don't in that situation. You know, I just think guys were done with it. And, you know, I don't know what that says, or if it says anything. You know, I don't know if they were just done for the day, or if that has anything to do with just, you know, the season, the quarterback decision. Mike, I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know, but I am curious to see if this team quits anymore throughout the rest of this season. You know, there's only 2 games left, and I can tell you right now, if they come out and they don't want to be there and they play like it, you know, like they just flat out don't care anymore, Tampa Bay and New England can both hang 40 on you. Like, Tampa Bay's up next, and yes, they're not exactly, you know, the team that they were the last couple seasons, but between Baker and Bucky and, you know, Mike Evans, Godwin, Egbuka, they have plenty of weapons to make you pay if you do not want to play with high effort. So I will be curious to see if this team quits or not, because they had plenty of opportunity to do it earlier in the year, and they chose to hang in there and stay together. And, you know, amidst like all this, like, you know, we're changing the culture talk and whatnot. Well, again, I'm not sure the reasoning, but they quit in this game. And I am going to be paying very close attention to that storyline going forward, you know, in these last 2 games. So we'll see. But yeah, I think this is a good place to end it, considering things just got ugly at this point. And we know how it ends. So yep, not a great performance from the Dolphins. Not exactly how, you know, the Quinn Ewers debut, you know, was envisioned. I think a lot of people were hoping for, maybe the Bengals were going to score that many points, but Miami would also be up in that 30 range where, it creates some excitement and we get a shootout here, but that did not happen. And that's fine. Quinn was to be, was as expected. He was a 7th round rookie. He probably should have been taken a little higher than that. But he looked all right. He looked fine. He was definitely, not the only reason, or the reason that this team lost. So, a lot more issues to deal with before that one. But yeah, guys, all right, that's gonna wrap it up. So, the normal routine, comments, questions, concerns, any of that stuff, hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up in the comments on YouTube. Usually Eric and I both try to respond on a little bit of everything, and then hopefully this gets out quick enough where what I'm saying next will make sense. But join us on Wednesday mornings when Eric and I go live around 9 a.m. So that way, if you guys have some stuff you want to say, stuff you want to get off your chest, or you're curious about things, that's the place to do it. Twitter, you can only really get so much across the across the table. With being limited to just words, and then you can lose context and stuff. That's the place to really, to get into the nitty gritty there, where I can go into detail and I can answer with, some context and it gives me some more wiggle room basically. So, yep, that's going to do it for today, guys. All right. Hopefully better days ahead. Catch you later.
Quarterback's legs.
Fakes left, now taken off. Gonna run for it, he got it! And there he goes! Inside the 10, the 5. Oh, the play of the year in the NFL! Quarterback legs it was.
I said no spy on this play. I can't believe it. The rare mistake by Kansas City.